This is a special day, and we wanted to make it special for our fathers. So we just went kind of extra to just say to our fathers that we love you. Mother's Day is always a great event, and we love Mother's Day. But Father's Day is special because we are able to honor men. And so we've got a couple of things for you guys. As soon as service is over, out on the coffee bar there, we've got some things for you. We've got some root beer that you can take home with you, make a root beer float or whatever you want to. And we've also got beef jerky. What could be better? What could say man more than, right? And for you snowflake dads, we've got some fruit chews that are non-GMO, and they're good for you, and you can read the ingredients, you and your wife, and you guys can have those. But the rest of us guys are going to eat beef jerky, all right? So you guys can have that. Dads, you guys can grab them first. Then there'll be lots of teenage boys waiting for you to finish so that they can then scavenge the rest of it. But dads, grab them. And then men, if you're here and you don't have kids, we want you to be able to have one also. So we're just going to honor dads today. So thank you guys for being a part. I've asked 4 different guys to come up and be on a panel this morning, and we're going to talk to dads about dads, all right? So I want my guys to come up, Mike Shaffer, Kevin Goins, Dave Wineinger, and Branson Rhodes. Give these guys a hand as they come up. Yep, just grab a microphone. You guys hopefully know how to do that. And we will get you guys going. Perfect. Branson, you might have to scoot out just a little bit just so I can see you. I reshaped that. And I know Mike's here somewhere. He's getting a drink. I don't know what he's doing. But he'll be here in just a second. Here he comes. Better late than never. Here, give him a hand, Mike Shaffer, so you'll know you love him. I'm thankful Mike's here. They had quite a bit of damage on their property, and he's the fire chief in Verdigris, so I know that he's dealing with fire stuff up there also, but I appreciate you guys being here. All right. Branson Rhodes is right down there on the end. Branson, you have 2 beautiful kids. And you, I know Branson, one of the things that he loves to do is paraglide. He loves to paraglide, and he takes off of skyscrapers downtown. Don't you? Is that you that does that?
Oh, we do the wingsuit. I'm kidding. No, we don't jump off cliffs. We run off mountains.
Okay.
There's a very distinct difference between those two.
Big difference. Okay. But he enjoys that kind of stuff, and Branson helps us with music every Sunday. He does a great job of playing keys, and we appreciate it. He grew up in Oologah, Oklahoma, so that's Branson down there. My brother, Kevin Goins, I could tell you lots of stories about him, but I'll suffice it to say that he loves riding motorcycles. These are his and his son's motorcycles up here, and he loves doing outdoor stuff, and he's a professional mower. No, I'm kidding. We mow a lot at the farm. We mow a lot, but I appreciate Kevin and him being here. Dave here is a principal at Coweta Junior Junior High, and he's a PK, and he grew up in the ministry, and he's been here at our church for a long time, and we're glad to have him here. He's one of our elders, and he brings a lot of wisdom to our church. And then Mike Shaffer is the man of many hats. He plays drums. He runs sound. He pampers his wife. He has a beautiful grandson, and he's also the fire chief up in Verdigris. And so with all of his duties, he still comes down here and is able to hang out with us, and we greatly appreciate him. You guys, I'm going to just throw out some questions for you, and I want you guys to kind of answer these. And hopefully you're a little bit prepared. I didn't get them cold turkey on this, and this isn't like a what is your life thing, but I wanted it to be just something that's fun that we could go through and talk about. And I thought it'd be a good perspective for you to get a perspective of what other dads think and what other dads experience in life, because it's a process.
My wife said I could have them.
This snowflake, good. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Did you read the ingredients on it? No. I'm a beef jerky guy. I'm not. I don't do fruit juice, as you can tell. Okay. What's the best or the worst Father's Day gift you've ever gotten? Branson, we're going to start down there with you for 20 points. No, again, this isn't a contest.
So last Father's Day was, I was a new father and just had Elodie, and she had just turned 1, and we had gone to my parents to celebrate Father's Day with my father. I thought this is a great idea, wonderful. Didn't think about the fact that she was going to be overstimulated the entire time and not take a nap. And they'd always said, hey, if they don't take a nap, they're not going to sleep well that night. The worst Father's Day gift I ever got was keeping my kid from their nap on Father's Day. And that night was awful. It was truly, until 9, 10 o'clock at night, awful. Yeah.
Okay. Kevin, worst or best?
I don't think I've had any bad gifts. I really can't think of a worst, but, it seemed like every Father's Day, the best gift is just being surrounded by family. And, that's all I could hope for. I don't think you can top that.
Yep.
So,
True. Okay. Dave?
So I was really thinking about this because I'm not really a gifts person. I think I'm probably hard to buy gifts for because I don't like stuff. But one of the things I really loved, so I was thinking about this a lot, and I keep going, I love spending time with my kids. I love seeing my kids do stuff. And then today, the powers that be decided that my older son should train my younger son to do projections. And they've been doing it, and there's been no fighting that I've been aware of, which is really like the top Father's Day gift I've ever received right there. So that's it right now. It's currently happening, the top Father's Day gift I've ever received.
We're in session right now. All right. Michael?
Probably I would have to go best. So due to the fact that Shannon and I, we wound up having 2 girls that were 2 years and 1 day apart, and their birthdays always fall on June 16th and 17th. So I would say as a father, probably my 2 girls, having my 2 girls pretty much on Father's Day was probably the best gift that I could have possibly imagined.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that, but that's cool. Well, that's nice having them all together. That way you won't forget
It's
them.
cool as long as they're not in diapers. Can I get an amen, Lisa?
Yes. Yeah, we had all of our kids right there bunched together, so that's true. Okay, next question. If Netflix did a biography on your life, what would you pick to play you? Who would you pick to play you? What like celebrity movie star would you pick to play you? Dave, we're going to start with you on this.
It's so hard to find someone who has the range to play me. Because, really, for a long time I said that Will Ferrell should play me, but then I went dramatically bald. And I just, I'm not really sure that he can do it. I mean, they could shave his head. It's not the same. You got to really be bald. So then I thought about Dwayne Johnson, obviously, for obvious reasons. Mostly for the bald part, not for the rest of him, because that's not the same as me. So I think probably the best would be Jason Alexander, who was George Costanza on Seinfeld, would probably be the best person to play me. We're going to have to get him lifts. But I feel like some sort of combination of those, 3 people would be the best.
Well, remember Kramer's friend had those lifts in his shoes, and he got ridiculed for it.
Fired.
Yeah.
Can't do that, no.
It's a horrible scene. Okay, Michael, you go. Then we'll loop around.
Probably, I don't know. I struggle with this one. I think if I went with how I feel inside, probably Chris Farley. How my wife makes me feel, probably like Fabio back in his day.
That's
how
what I'm
my
talking
wife
about.
makes me feel.
Okay, all right, Branson.
I think Liam Neeson, not because of the nose, but because if you hurt my kids, I will find you.
All right, Kevin.
oh man, it was a split between 2 people, but I think I'm just going to do a combo, and that would be Barney Fife and Sheriff Andy Taylor. So, probably, I've done some goofy things, maybe, I don't know, my kids can probably tell you about that. Rode the motorcycles in the house one time. Like we got videos of that, but just entertainment. But, Andy Taylor, he was, the thing I liked about him is he had such wisdom, but at the same time, he was very human. And that's something that I always wanted to, get across to my kids, that I was not up on some pedestal to where I was, above them and faultless and everything. And hey, I was human. And I made more mistakes than they'll ever know. But so I stay by the combo, I think.
Okay. Wouldn't that be like either Gomer or Ernest T. Bass I think it would. See, I think it's funny because our generation knows all these things. The younger generation's like, who in the world is these kind of guys? But they gave some names that I didn't know who they were either, these young guys. So we just got to flow with it, right? You just got to roll with it. Okay, next question. Tell me a Bible verse that you've hung on to that has helped you to be a better father or husband. Go, Mike. I'll start with you on this one.
Well, I'll have to look at the actual scripture. It is Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I feel like that's when you have kids and then you get on the other side of having kids, you realize that you're not always going to make the right decision, best decisions. You're going to have things that you could have done better or anything else. But I feel like that one of the core things of just being a good husband to your wife is one of the best examples that you can give your children, and it's the foundation in which that those arrows that are sent out after you let go, that can help train them to where the next step in their life, the where they're going to get that helpmate, and how important that is to find somebody that hopefully exemplifies what they saw growing up. So I would say that, even though it's not specific to father.
Good. Dave.
Okay, I'm going to go to my second verse because Mike stole mine. The one I always go to is trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he'll make your paths straight. I just think, that verse, there's not very many situations in my life where that verse did not apply. Because my own understanding is often the way that anything gets messed up. And no matter how smart you are, you don't know enough. And then submit to God. I think that's that's the thing you got to figure out. Mm-hmm. It's hard as an adult, I think, because your whole life, when you're a kid, that's part of it. Like your parents are always telling you what to do, and you're like, now you're like, you move out, you're like, I can do whatever I want, and because you can, but submit to God, and then I think that when you're saying, well, how should I discipline my kids? Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to him, and do those three things, you'll probably be okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kevin.
I thought I had it memorized, but my memory, slips these days. Luke 11:11. Which of you fathers, if your son asks for a fish, will give him a snake instead? Or if he asks you for an egg, will you give him a scorpion? Mm-hmm. If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father in heaven give you the Holy Spirit to those who ask him? Mm-hmm. So, it's simplified for us, guys. It's really not that hard. And, this was one that always stood out. I think there's a lot of verses, but this is one I'll throw out there.
Good. Yeah, that's one of my favorite verses, too. Branson, go.
I really, really wish I'd been first, because I don't know how to follow up any of those. But In thinking of verses, the first thing, of course, came to mind was, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart, which is like the first verse you think. I didn't really do a lot of homework there. We haven't all really gotten to that point yet, since Clark is 6 months and Elodie is just 2 years. And so the first verse that came to mind after that was, "It came to pass." I'm kidding, like as in this too shall pass. No, I'm enjoying my kids, but I have to say, I got to tie in with what Mike said, especially because it was going to tie in with one of my other answers later, is that putting your wife first really does matter. Because like you said, after you send those arrows, those kids out into the world, you're still left with the one that helped you send those out. And what better example could you give than to put her first? And the kids are resilient. The kids are going to be okay. And I've messed up. The reason I'm bringing this up is I've messed up a lot in this already. It's only been 2 years, and I've already messed up a lot in this. I'm like, Paige, you're fine. You can deal with things yourself. Elodie needs me now. Not the case. Elodie's just fine. Elodie's just fine, and Paige may have developed an eye twitch. I don't know. But it's important that you put your spouse first, regardless of what the kids are doing in the moment.
Okay, great. Let me just ask you this. If you could do raising kids over again, what would you do differently? I know I didn't prep you guys on this one, but let me just ask you, if you could do raising kids over again, what would you do differently? And my thought is, for these guys, Branson, even for you, for these guys who have small kids or teenagers that are still in the home, or even, it applies to all of us, what would you do differently in raising your kids now, or what do you think you should have focused on more as a parent raising your kids, that you look back on now and say, man, if I could do it over again, I would do it differently? What would that be? Kevin, I'll start with you.
Oh, man. Thinking. You could just fill pages with regrets. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids, try to push work back or what I thought was important. And, someone once said that any time spent with a kid is never wasted, and with your kids. Right. So probably that's one of the things I wish I would have spent more time with them. I think I did a good job, but I could have done better.
Okay, Branson, I'll throw it down there to you. That's kind of hard for you.
We're in the thick of it. And by the way, when I say this too shall pass, I don't mean like having kids. I love being with them, even in the toddler and infant stage. I just don't think we should have them that close together. But it's a whole, them being in diapers at the same time. But if I were to do anything different, I think I probably would have set up a shorter bedtime routine with less expectations upon me.
Okay, I get it. We get it. Okay, Dave.
I thought about that, man, that's a tough one, because from when you said it, I was like, man, hey, my kids are really awesome. So, and I don't know that we did anything. It was more like God did stuff. So I don't know if we doing anything different would make them any different. I don't know if I wouldn't want them to be a lot different than they are. I like that. Maybe, and this may sound crazy to those of you who know me, we probably should have Bible quizzed harder. But I know maybe sounds crazy, but I don't know, what do you want your kids to know when they leave your house? The Word of God? Is there anything else you really need them to know? You need them to know. They'll figure all the other stuff out. They got YouTube for a lot of stuff. They watch YouTube so much that they've learned a bunch of stuff I didn't even know they were trying to learn. They're masters of all sorts of video games that I wasn't even aware were video games or you could master. But I think I don't regret any time I spent with my kids learning the Word of God. I don't regret any time, especially when they're really young, pushing them towards the Word of God. And other stuff that we did that really wasn't as impactful in their life, we could have just not done it.
Got it. Michael?
Well, so Shannon and I kind of have a saying, and we said it so much that it's over our bed. We made a picture, had a picture made of it, and it says, "These are the good old days." Because I can't stand, one of my pet peeves is, oh man, That was the good old days. All the people that talk about school or, if I could go back, and I'll be honest with you, there's no way I'd go back. No way. No way. And it's only because that's what makes this time in our life so rich, is the fact that we've traveled through that period of time to where we can truly see it and understand it. And I don't want to skip ahead to any other questions, but I think the key component in it is the fact that if I know in my heart that I cannot take credit for the success or the failures of my children, then I have a release from that. And I popped something out in small group the other day that it's kind of my mantra right now is, regret is an unhealthy relationship with a lesson learned. If we can understand that, there's always a lesson to be learned and always a lesson that can be applied. So to regret anything that we did or did not do in the past still doesn't change that. So if we take a healthy relationship with that lesson learned and let it change us today, then these can be the best days of our lives.
Yeah. Wow. That's good. That's good. Okay, let's do another kind of fun question and see how you guys respond to it. Let's create a 10 commandments for 2023 fathers, all right? What would be your top 3 commandments? Either start it with thou shalt not or thou shalt. What would be your top 3 commandments? Who wants to start on that one? Go, Dave. You already got them right there.
Got it.
Brother.
I wrote down stuff ahead of time because sometimes when I speak extemporaneously, it's too long. Thou shalt get thy personal devotional life in order. For dads, you are not responsible. I mean, you cannot control the choices your children make. You can try to manipulate them, but you can't control them. And but you are in charge of your personal devotional life, and your kids will. My second one would be, thou shalt lead thy family by example, because your kids will remember what they see you doing a lot more than what they heard you saying. They don't listen to what you say, but they copy you. And then your wife sends you pictures of them doing stuff, and it looks like you doing stuff, and you think, man, I hope they only learn the good parts of that, because there was a lot of bad habits in some of those parts. And then I would say the last one is, thou shalt not let any opportunity to make a bad pun alone, because if you see an opportunity to make a really terrible pun and say to your kid, hello, hungry, nice to meet you, I feel like you have failed as a dad.
Okay. Mike, I'll go to you.
Well, I have my own, but I feel like you cannot improve on 3 of them from the 10 Commandments. And of course, having no other God before the Lord is critical. And then, really as a father, and for all those fathers out here, thou shalt not kill is an important one.
Preaches right there.
Yeah, so just tuck that back there. And then thou shalt not commit adultery. I think adultery in that coveting drives people oftentimes and can bring out an example that can really lead your kids the wrong direction. But I think thou shalt always treat your wife as your priority, and your first ministry is my personal. And then the regret is the second one, and never go back. Never go back. Are probably my personal 3.
Okay. Branson, how about yours?
I sound like a broken record probably, but it's you shall not put your kids before your wife, for sure. It just sets a bad precedent and makes icky feelings for everyone involved. And don't skip nap time, obviously. But
Is that for you or for the kids?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it depends on which one you want to be crabby. And also, if you have thou shalt not take attention away from your kids. There's no reason to be focusing on your phone when you have a chance to be with kids. And it's kind of a double standard because sometimes Elodie would rather focus on my phone than on me, and we have to put that away. But she's worth the time. Clark is worth the time, and so is Paige worth the time, attention.
Okay, Kevin.
I have to start by saying thou shalt limit social media and your phone use, having it always in front of your face. Number 2 would be thou shalt use the turn signal. And number 3 would be thou shalt not watch the news.
Oh, that's a really good one.
It worked for me, guys. That was my
Turn
New
it
Year's
off. Turn it off.
resolution.
Especially during an election year. Just turn it off and go. Get your social or get your news from like Twitter or Instagram. All right. I'm kidding. What advice would you give today to your 18-year-old self? Whoever wants to go can go on this one. I don't even want to pick you. I just want you to do it.
If I wanted to be rich, I would be like, hey, man, because when I was 18, I would go Apple, Amazon, Google, just throw all your money in that hole. Just basically wear like one outfit and wash it every night. And don't even eat. Just throw all your money in that hole. That would be the best advice to my 18-year-old self, just because of the age that I am. That would be the best.
He's got a text. Hang on.
Listen, no, I had to
Okay.
check
Oh,
because
all right,
remember,
all right.
Kelly, we talked about if I speak extemporaneously, it can just go way too long. But what I would want to say is that when I was 18, I really equated discipline with punishment. So I didn't want to be disciplined because I did not want to be punished. And I thought that if I could escape discipline, then I would be free. But that's not true. Discipline is how you get freedom. And God's discipline, because he punishes those he loves and disciplines everyone that he accepts as a son. That's Hebrews chapter 12. God's discipline and letting that roll into my life would have made me much more successful. And I don't have any complaints really about my life, but man, I would have been a lot more successful, just like in the inner part of my life, which maybe is the only place I really have a lot of complaints. And I just embraced discipline a lot earlier, and not saw it as a punishment, but it really is in itself a way to freedom, especially God's discipline.
Good. Somebody go.
I'll say it. So freak out less. Freak out as little as possible. There's not a lot that you can go through that really will leave you in the worst possible situation. And there are a lot of things that feel like the worst possible situation that really will turn out just fine. It will really end up being okay. God really does have it. It's just a matter of we don't see. It's kind of like Elodie asking for her bottle, and she doesn't understand why I put it in this box in the wall and push buttons and then get it out and give it to her. She's like, I want it now. And we want it now. And oftentimes we freak out waiting for that bottle, figuratively speaking. And yeah, it would freak out. And especially when I was 18, there was a time in my life where I was freaking out. I didn't know what God wanted me to do. Where was I supposed to go? If I just walked through it and not freaked out, I would have ended up in the right spot anyway. That's, yeah.
Okay. Kevin.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about that because I was making pages and pages, filling those out on my list. I wish I would have started tithing when I was 18. It was one of those things, I was taught that growing up, but it just kind of went in one ear and out the other. That just applies to people who have money. That just applies to mom and dads. And, if I knew then what I know now, it would have been very different. And, again, that's one of those things where we as Americans were real sensitive with our dollar signs and with our wallets and stuff like that. And that's a big hump we're going to have to get over. Not all of us can go to the mission field, but we can support missions, or we can support our church. There's other ways to be hands-on. So, that's one of those things I probably regret. And I see the value in it now. And, shameless plug, I've stepped it up. Our family has stepped it up. And I see the benefits in my life. I see the benefits of my kids' lives. They're all tithers. Like I say, I wish I would have done it when I was their age. I didn't. But, the Lord's blessed us. And I can't emphasize that enough.
Good. All right, Michael.
All right, so is Avery still in here? Did she go to the nursery? Okay, all right. Well, this is going to be a little sensitive, okay? So if I were to talk to my 18-year-old self, I'm going to be completely transparent, and youth, I hope you're listening to this. My words would be, hold on. So my life changed drastically right at my 18th birthday. That's whenever I started experimenting with alcohol. That's whenever I became sexually active. And, looking back at it now, and I still truly believe that I don't regret that time. Of course, I wished I would have made different decisions, because 9 months later I met my wife. And at the time that I turned 18, I had no idea where I was going, what I was going to do, anything else. And I think in a young adult's life like that absence of vision, absence of knowing where you're going, what you're going to do, is oftentimes the first fork in the road that the enemy can use to distract you and take you other places, because it's like, well, I might as well have fun while I'm here, and got connected with a group that wasn't a good influence, that unfortunately was dealing with their own lack of direction. And knowing now the gift I could have gave my wife on our wedding day could have been freely given, I would have told my younger self, just hold on, because I would have never believed. Although I'd still have to just believe right now that Jesus would have worked it out some way, because as much as my wife wouldn't want everybody to know, I met her in a bar. So the Lord can bring good things to you even whenever you're not truly following Him. He can put things in your path. And I don't believe in what's the word? Soulmates. I don't believe in that. I love my wife dearly. But I believe the reason why I love my wife so much is because she loves the Lord. And it's just like Tyler Sharvat? Yeah. Tyler Sharvat said years and years ago, in everything you do, do it as unto the Lord. And if you are living your life that way, your spouse is living their life that way, then you can have a marriage that's so fulfilling. So just hold on. If you're there in your life, if you've already made maybe some poor choices, stop where you're at and hold on, because that's a gift that I really, 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 really wished I could have given to my wife. So
Good. Good things come to those who wait. Amen. Okay. Last question, and then we're going to move on to root beer. Can you think of a difficult situation that you've encountered as a father that you had no clue how to handle at the time, but with God's help, it worked out in a positive way? Can you think of a situation like that? Anybody?
I think that, probably every parent has gone through this, but, one of the things that really put my wife and I on our knees is when our children are sick. It freaks you out for one thing. And, oh my gosh, we have to go to the emergency room or, whatever. But, we would always just stop and pray. And, the Lord always got us through that stuff. We were just panicky and we just didn't know what to do. We needed something done then. And, the Lord has met us time and time again. So, I guess that's what I'd throw out there. is just, Lord hears your prayers and he's concerned. And,
Sure.
Net and I didn't know what to do, but he pulled us through it, he healed. And, man, we pray for our dogs even, when they get sick. And Lord's healed them time after time. So that's my bit on that.
Good. Branson?
Sounds eerily similar. Yeah, my example was already when Elodie went in the hospital with RSV and was hospitalized for like 4 days. I remember Paige sent me a video of her chest going up and down so rapidly. She was taking a breath every 30 seconds and struggling to breathe. I said, get her to the hospital now. Or back into the pediatrician. The pediatrician said, okay, we're sending her to the hospital. The pediatrician is calm, cool, and collected. I'm like, let's get her in now. And we got her into the hospital room, and she's there. The nurses are monitoring her, and they're like, we're going to need to put her on oxygen. And this is, mind you, right after all the COVID and intubation and stuff. And I freaked, like I talk about freaking out. I freaked out, and I didn't freak out in front of Paige. I walked out into the hallway with the nurse. I was like, okay, tell me, is she coming off this oxygen or not? What's going on? And anyway, it was so tough to see her for 4. And she said, yes, of course, everything's fine. But for 4 days, it was being powerless to help your child was just the toughest thing ever. Anyway, knowing God had it the whole time, that he had her, it was tough, but he came through.
Amen. Amen. Okay, Michael, and then we'll end with Dave.
I won't be as detailed in these because it's not my story to tell. It's my kids' testimonies and my wife and I's, but yes, I mean, if I'm looking at this as me as a father, as a husband, we've had our share of difficulties, of trials, of things that it's easy for you to look at and just say, well, it'd just be easier just to start over. Whether it's you feel betrayed, whether it's things that just are earth-shaking that happen with your kids. But again, I don't know that I would go, now that it's done, I don't know that I would go back and change any of it, for the fact that it is what has created the relationship that I have with Christ today.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter what has happened. It has only, it's really crazy. It's only drawn me closer to the Lord. It's only made me, just like waking up this morning and it's like, oh, well, we about had 2 8-foot sections of privacy fence go through the back of our house, through the patio windows. And it's like, the Lord had his hand on us. I have no doubt about it. And you just, I don't know. It's not that you don't care. It's not that. It's a peace, and it's an understanding that, the Lord still has us in his hand. The Lord knows best.
Yep.
There's going to be pains in this world. There's going to be things that are unjust and unfair and just right down hurtful. Mm-hmm. But the Lord has us in his hand, and this is just a temporary, place where we're going to be. And if we understand that everything that we ever want to achieve is not in this time in our life, right. It's in the eternity side. And I think it gets you through those times of understanding that this is just a little blip, no matter how earth-shattering it may seem at the time, in the true scope of eternity, and then to see how the Lord can take those times just to enrich your life and grow his relationship with you, and you grow your dependence on him, and it's just divine,
Good. Dave?
So I'm a middle school principal in the greatest school district in Oklahoma. I'm 100% sure. And I'm serious. And if you have kids in my school, or if you've ever met anyone who, like, I mean, people move to my middle school. My kids don't go there. I know, so that's the part of the story that's like a hard part. And it was really hard to decide where my kids should go to school because my wife and I would talk about this and that and what was best for our individual children. Like, not what's like best for, like, hey, it looks really good if your kids go to your school. Like, see, his kids go there. See, it must be a really good school. His own kids go. And as my kids were approaching middle school age, we were talking. They had been homeschooled. It was COVID. Listen, your kids got to be around the right people at junior high. They got to be around people. Sure. The kids they're around are such a big influence. My school has a lot of really great kids. Mm-hmm. It does. It has great kids. One of them is here. He's awesome. By the way, if you've never met Logan, that kid's amazing. I love that kid. He's here. He's in my school. I love him. I've had some great kids go through my school. But we were just talking about what was best for our kids and what they wanted to do in junior high and high school. And so we kind of came to the conclusion that we should put them in this private school. If you're a public school person, this is like a big deal to do this, especially in my job and especially with some of the politics stuff we have in Oklahoma about public-private money and how it's spent. And it's not easy. And I did not like it because I felt in some ways it might put some pressures on me at work. I didn't even like thinking about it. But when I prayed about it, I knew that this is a good place for them to go. It has nothing to do with they need to be in a Christian school or not. They need to be in a private school or not. It's like for them, for my two kids that God gave me to raise, and not the 500 that I get to help raise every single day. I love those kids. And so they ended up going to Summit, and I just couldn't be more pleased with the things God has worked out in that. Like, there's a lot of times I go, man, it's just the goodness of God that he led us to the place he led us at the time he led us to do it. And so, like, that's really hard because here's the deal. I think God's so awesome, I could put him in any school, and he could have just done amazing things. So, but I think I should not confuse God fixing my bad plans or my good plans or my best plan with following God's plan. Because God can turn graves into gardens. I understand. Like, we all sing the song. It's a great song. You know? I know God can do all this stuff. He can take the big mess you made and turn it into something beautiful. But what probably is better is to have a testimony that's not, here's all the mistakes I made that God rescued me from. But it would be better to have a testimony, and so I just trusted God in the first place. Yeah. Like, Jonah's story is really cool, but it'd be really cooler if he just went to Nineveh.
Less memorable.
It'd be less memorable, but it'd be pretty neat if he just, like, went, you know? And so, like, that's my thing, I guess, you know, just trust God. Try not to end up in the belly of a whale.
Great advice, huh? Let me give you one on that line, and then we'll read a scripture and we'll close. I could think of something as a young father when we were raising our kids. After our first child, Callie, was born, then Lisa had a miscarriage after that, and we were doing a youth retreat at Greenleaf State Park, and they told me that Lisa, was not doing well, and that she, maybe going through a miscarriage. And I'm like, this is the worst possible time. It's like Wednesday night of the retreat. I got 2 more nights left, just tell her to go home and rest kind of thing. And then we realized that it was more serious than that. And I didn't really take it that serious because it didn't affect me, and I really didn't know all the things that went along with it. So when we got home that weekend, I think the next day we did go to the doctor, and the doctor couldn't find a heartbeat as he was looking with the Doppler, and she had to go in and have a DNC to have that removed. Well, again, in my infinite ignorance, while she's in there doing that, I'm thinking, I've waited in a lot of waiting rooms. I'm probably going to be here for a couple of hours. I'm going to go grab something to eat, and then I'll be back. So I go to a buffet and come back, and she's out, sitting in a wheelchair waiting on me to come back. So I get her and take her home. I just didn't really take it serious. Well, then a couple of months later, several months later, maybe 6 months later, we found out that she was pregnant again. And now at this time, she started going through the same process. And then it really hit me. And we were planning on going to the doctor the next morning so that they could, do the Doppler on her and find out exactly what was going on. And I just kept having those thoughts in my brain go over and over when the last doctor said we can't find a heartbeat. And I couldn't get that out of my mind. And I remember Lisa went to bed that night, and I stayed up because I was just struggling with the whole process. And I remember being in the upstairs of our house. This house that we had an upstairs area that was kind of a balcony that looked over the living room, and I had music going, and I was up there sitting on the floor just praying and asking God, why are we going through this? I mean, I'm a pastor, everything's supposed to be really good and easy, and everything's supposed to be smooth. And I just felt like such a weak leader, a weak man, that I couldn't direct my family.